I hosted a $1,200 family gathering, and my relatives ridiculed me for it. In 5 seconds, I locked every account. By sunrise, they were pleading for access to be restored. They laughed, calling me the invisible financier. I smirked, tapped block all, and watched their world unravel. They thought it was just another weekend. Same park, same tablecloth, same expectation that I'd cover the costs without a word. At the picnic, my brother lifted his glass and declared, "To the shadow who funds everything but still doesn't fit in." My mother chuckled. My sister chimed in, "Here's to the silent cash flow." I raised my drink and responded, "To the silent cash that's now gone." I took a sip, pulled out my phone, and hit freeze all accounts. My sister's face drained of color, my father started yelling, and my brother's rent payment failed mid-cheer. That gathering cost a fortune, but it was worth every penny. They assumed it was just another family weekend. Same park we always used. Same checkered cloth my mother insisted on pressing. Same assumptions. Mark will pay. Mark will tidy up. Mark will be thankful we let him join the adult table, even though he's nearing 40. But this time was different. This event was costly. I made sure of it. They wanted catering this time. Something better than burgers, Sarah texted in the group chat. Tom suggested ribs and shrimp. Why not? They weren't footing the bill. Sarah offered to bring drinks, 2 bottles of cheap soda and a 4-pack of beer. My mother called the night before, asking if I could grab some folding chairs since my father's back was bothering him again. I smiled and said, "Sure, I'll handle it." Of course I did. I always do. They know how to take. When my wife packed up and left with our daughter, no one checked on me. They asked if I could still help Tom move. When I took a second job working nights at a warehouse, my mother called to say their fridge broke. When I didn't reply right away, she texted 4 times. I sent. I don't spend on myself. I wear the same 3 shirts to work. I keep a gym bag in my van for showers. My truck's heater only works above 45 miles per hour. My boots are so worn the soles are peeling. I don't buy anything for me. But I paid off their SUV. I covered Sarah's car insurance for 3 months when she was between gigs. Tom makes more than me, works fewer hours, but I co-signed his lease and paid the deposit. So, the gathering was extravagant. I hired a local barbecue truck, told them to add a service fee, and tipped generously. I rented speakers, coolers, tables, and paid for insurance, knowing nothing would break. It all went on my card, and I stayed quiet. When we arrived, it looked perfect. Tom showed up in shades and a sleeveless shirt, acting like he planned it all. Sarah posted a photo, Family Vibes 2025, no mention of who paid. Mom praised the setup, saying it was nice to see everyone pitching in. I nodded and smiled. Then came the moment. Tom raised his beer like he was toasting a grand event. He grinned, as if we all shared a private joke. To the ghost who funds everything but never belongs. Mom laughed. Sarah clinked her glass, adding, "To invisible money." I responded, "To invisible money that's now vanished." Under the table, I tapped my phone, freeze all accounts, shared checking, family payment apps. Mom's grocery card stopped working. All of it, gone in 5 seconds. I kept eating my ribs, I didn't say another word. The cracks started showing. Sarah tried ordering more drinks. Card declined, twice. Tom got a bank alert about a failed rent payment. Dad walked over, phone in hand, feigning confusion. "Is the bank down?" he asked. I told him to try again tomorrow. They didn't get it yet. They thought it was a glitch, maybe fraud, something external. No one suspected I'd cut the cord. Not yet. But they would. This was just the start, the first twist of the knife. For once, I wasn't the quiet one. I wasn't the family bank. I was done being polite. They mocked me, thinking they'd humiliated me. They didn't realize they'd already lost, and I was just beginning. That night, no one texted. No thanks, no silly group chat meme. That told me everything. They were panicking, probably blaming the bank, refreshing apps, assuming it was a fraud alert. I knew Sarah would crack first. Her life runs on subscriptions. Tom might not notice until his rent hit. Mom would sense something was off. She always did, even if she didn't know what it meant. By morning, the calls began. Sarah texted first, "Hey, did you transfer money or something?" Like we were co-workers. I didn't reply. "My card's not working. Can you check?" I didn't. I knew why. She called twice, straight to voicemail. At work, I sipped stale coffee in the break room as my phone buzzed non-stop. Dad called. Then Tom. Mom left a voicemail, her voice tight but smiling, like she was holding back anger. I let the messages stack up. Sarah emailed, she never emails, saying she was worried and asking if I was okay, her way of saying fix this now. I replied with one line, "The accounts are closed."
No explanation.
I didn't owe her one. Tom called next, skipping pleasantries. His voice was sharp. His rent payment bounced, and the leasing office threatened to cancel his move-in without another deposit by Friday. I told him he should have saved some of that beer money for emergencies. He hung up. I went to the leasing office I'd co-signed for. I waited while the clerk called the manager. I calmly said I was pulling my application and canceling the deposit. They warned I'd be liable if the lease was signed. I smiled and told them to check the status. It was pending, no lease, no obligation. I stopped the payment before leaving. Tom showed up at my door, banging like he was serving a warrant. I didn't answer. He paced, calling me from his phone, then someone else's. When I finally opened the door, he was yelling. He said I'd screwed him over, made him look like a fool, ruined his NE. I asked if he remembered when I needed help after my divorce, when I couldn't sleep, working nights and breaking down in the bathroom at work, when my wife took our daughter to Mexico without telling me. He didn't answer. I told him to leave. He muttered something as he walked to his car, probably an insult he thought would sting. I didn't care. I watched him drive off in the car I'd helped him fix last summer. Dad left a voicemail. He said they'd been talking and it was time to lay it all out. He wanted to resolve things as a family, said I might have taken things too personally, but they were ready for a real talk. He used the phrase shared goals, like he'd read it in a self-help book. I didn't call back. Let them talk. Let them panic. Let them feel what I've felt for years, alone, pressured, useful yet disposable. The best part wasn't revenge. Not yet. I was still being reasonable. They didn't know how far I'd go, but they were about to find out. This is part 3 of Mark's story. They tried to stay calm, but their world was falling apart faster than they could patch it. Sarah posted an Instagram story, a photo of her shoes on a deck with the caption, "Some people reveal their true selves when it's inconvenient." Vague enough for her followers, but I knew it was about me. Tom shared a meme about a fake family, no tags. Real subtle. What they didn't know was I'd gone further. That same day I froze the accounts. I logged into the utility portal. I'd been covering my parents' power and water since 2022. They always said they'd pay me back when things settled. Guess what never settled? So I canceled autopay, removed my card, and marked myself as moved out. Mom texted, "Did something happen with the utility payments?" I got a shut-off notice. I left it on read. It wasn't cruel. Not really. I'd given them years of my life. I skipped doctor visits while they remodeled. I sold my watch collection to cover Dad's late tax bill. I never threw it in their faces, never. Made them feel small for asking. But they made me feel small all the time. Tom said I couldn't keep a wife. Sarah mocked my boots, asking if I was going minimalist. Dad said it was good I didn't have my daughter full-time, given my work hours. That one burned. So I didn't feel bad when Sarah texted about her streaming account. I'd been paying for the shared Netflix and phone plan. She said the family bundle was cheaper. She was locked out and called it petty. I replied, I agree. Then silence. They switched tactics. Guilt turned to bargaining. Mom left a voicemail saying she missed how things were. She didn't want money, just to talk. Then she asked if I'd reinstate the card for 1 month since their new payment hadn't cleared. Tom texted, "I know we've had issues, but this is too much." Sarah stayed quiet but updated her LinkedIn with a job she didn't have, probably trying to get someone else to co-sign her lease. Good luck. I wasn't angry anymore. That was the strange part. It felt like decluttering, like clearing out years of moldy junk. One piece at a time until the air was clean. I started cooking real meals again. I bought new shoes, not fancy, just ones that didn't squeak. I stood in the store for 15 minutes, holding the box, before letting myself buy them. That's when I knew what this was. Not revenge, subtraction. And I wasn't done. I expected more noise, another guilt trip voicemail, maybe Tom posting a cryptic story acting unbothered. Instead, Sarah showed up at my porch. She hadn't been to my place since the divorce. I knew it wasn't a friendly visit. No one in this family shows up without a motive. She wore sunglasses, like she didn't want to be seen. She carried a thick manila envelope. She didn't ask to come in, just sat on the steps and said she wasn't here to argue. The envelope held scraps, old receipts, bank statements, torn sticky notes, copies of checks I'd written over the years. Some I'd forgotten, rent money, vet bills, a $700 transfer labeled for the deposit THX. At least 10 different handwriting styles, mostly hers. She said she was cleaning her apartment, planning to move, maybe Arizona or back to Georgia, where an old friend owed her a favor. Then she said something odd. I think I ruined everything. Not just with you. With everyone. She went quiet, like she might cry, but I wasn't sure I cared. Then she said something that floored me. Remember that $600 in 2021? The one I said was for rent. She admitted part of it went to a married guy she was seeing. He'd threatened to share photos she'd sent. She was too ashamed to tell me and thought she could fix it alone. She couldn't. I sat in the doorway, unsure what to say. Not because I felt nothing, but because I couldn't tell if she was being honest or playing a new game. She said she wasn't asking for money, just wanted me to know she was sorry and wouldn't bother me again. She left the envelope and walked to her car. Didn't look back. It should have felt like a turning point, like maybe this mess could be salvaged. Then came the next shock. Tom tried to use my identity. I got an email from an unfamiliar bank asking me to verify a loan application. The email address was off, Mark 32 instead of Mark 23, just enough to slip through. The bank said the documents looked photocopied. I knew it was an old W-2 I'd sent Tom for some failed. Then I called his old landlord. I didn't lie, just told the truth. Tom left his last place with damages and used someone else's info for his new lease. She sounded tired but grateful, said he'd already missed the utility setup. I knew he was all talk, she said. I replied, we all did. It just took me longer. But nothing prepared me for what came next. An unknown number from Mexico called. I almost ignored it. It was my daughter's school nurse in Merida. She said my daughter listed me as an emergency contact, and they couldn't reach her mother for over 48 hours. My ex had left town with a new boyfriend, leaving our daughter with a neighbor who then left for work and didn't come back. I froze. Couldn't form words. The nurse said, we didn't want to alarm you, but it's not good. You should come. I grabbed a bag and went to the airport. Booked the first flight to Mexico City, then Merida. Didn't tell anyone, not work, not family. Tom texted during my layover, you're really ghosting your whole family over money? I didn't reply. Mom texted, what's happening to us? I wrote a response, then deleted it. I had bigger problems. My daughter was alone in a country where I had no legal rights. No one had asked about her in years. My anger sharpened, redirecting. I wasn't done, just shifting focus. I landed in Merida past midnight. The airport was near empty, just a few taxis and locals. No checked bags, just my passport and backpack. One mission, find my daughter. The nurse gave me the neighbor's address, a place on the city's edge. I paid the driver extra to wait while I knocked. My daughter was asleep on a couch in a house smelling of dust and grease. The neighbor, a man in his 50s, barely spoke English. He seemed as confused as I was. He said her mother went to Cancun with a friend and stopped answering her phone. I thanked him, carried my daughter to the taxi, and took her to a motel. She didn't ask why I was there, just hugged me and whispered, I missed you. I said it. That shut him up. He stood there, then left without a word. Mom called that night. Voicemail. She said she didn't know what to do, that the family was falling apart, that I scared her with how cold I'd become. She said, I don't know you anymore. For the first time, I felt calm. I knew who I was. And it wasn't their bank. A month passed. Silence became normal. No texts from Mom, no passive-aggressive posts from Sarah, no fake apologies from Tom. The group chat was dead. It was the quietest I'd felt in years. I got visitation rights in Mexico, not custody, but something. My daughter could visit for holidays. I started fixing up my spare room, painting it blue, buying a desk, the first real furniture I'd bought in years. I still wore the same jeans, drove the same truck, but everything felt new. Then, just when I thought it was over, they tried one last move. I'm sure it was Sarah's idea. She texted out of nowhere, saying they wanted one last family meeting. No drama, just to clear things up. I ignored it. Mom sent a physical letter, her handwriting on the envelope like it was 1995. Inside was a photo from a decade ago, us smiling at a lake house.
A note, before all this.
Let's talk. I stared at it, then drove over unannounced. They were all there, Mom, Dad, Sarah, Tom. They'd rehearsed. Tom spoke first, trying humor, the runaway wallet's back. I didn't smile. Mom said they realized things went too far, that I needed space, but we were still blood. That meant something. I let them talk, let them spin their excuses and rewrite history. Then I laid it out. I told Mom she never shielded me from Dad's snide remarks, that I wasn't her pension. I told Sarah she treated people like props and expected praise for doing nothing. I told Tom he was a parasite, and not even a clever one. Then I said something I regretted but meant, you're not my family. You're just people I grew up with. The room went silent. Mom looked like I'd hit her.
Sarah stood up.
Tom muttered something about me being unhinged. I stayed a moment longer, then left.
No odbis. No second chance.
On the way home, I felt the empty guilt. I replayed every word, considered calling Mom to soften it, maybe half apologize. But I didn't. This wasn't abandonment, it was freedom. They wouldn't change. I wasn't going back. I blocked them all. Not out of spite, but necessity.
I chose my doctor. I chose myself. I chose a life free of guilt and obligation.
For the first time in years, I could breathe.
Update. I got a letter, certified mail, no return address.
Just my name in neat cursive. I thought it might be legal trouble, maybe Tom pulling something again. I almost didn't open it. Inside was a check for $4,200.
No note, just a scrap of paper. Sold the TV.
Sold some jewelry. This should cover some of what I owe. Don't expect more. Not trying to fix anything. Just don't want to owe you. It wasn't signed, but it was Sarah. I knew the handwriting. The tone. Half apology, half defiance. Classic her. I didn't know what to make of it. It sat on my counter for 5 days. I'd glance at it while making tea, pass it on my way to bed, thought about shredding it. Part of me wondered if it was a trap. Part of me wondered if it was real. Sarah never repaid anything, not a loan, not a favor, not even borrowed books. Now she was selling her stuff to settle a debt she once said wasn't real. On the 6th day, I deposited it. Not because I needed the money, but because I wanted to feel what it was like to take something back.
Something he never thought he'd get.